Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. We're live on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel, and a big thank you to all of you, the thousands of people who have been subscribing. It's absolutely magnificent, and of course watching. And from the last couple of months, Ruffy, we've had 500,000 on the podcasts. Yeah. So that gives you an indication that people are downloading the programme. If they can't watch it, then they're listening to it, they're taking the dog out for a walk, having a wee listen. Probably some people are looking at them walking along the street, and your pronunciation of players is bringing a smile to their face.
Yeah, the most important thing is our foreign intake from all over the world to phone us, and we're actively just waiting to find a really good holiday spot, to go and visit somebody.
And I'll tell you right now, we are scouring the Australian market as we speak. We don't know anybody from Qatar yet, Ruffy. We need to get our finger out.
No, we don't, but there's a lot of nice places: Toronto, Florida, Thailand.
Yeah, absolutely. I know where you're going. Anyway, apart from that, and talking of people who follow us and watch the show every day, we really do appreciate your support. Hit the subscribe button, and if you hit the bell, you'll get all the notifications of our content. We've had some great one-to-ones of late. James McPake dropped in, Gordon Strachan, Pat Nevin, as well as Jamie Murphy. Jamie Murphy is up there, a one-to-one. You can get an insight into his career, his playing career as well. And also, lots of people sending us messages. Duncan has said, Good afternoon, Peter. I watch the show every day in Worcester. Fantastic viewing. I love the banter and the knowledge. Hope the show goes from strength to strength. Keep up the good work. He's an Englishman whose team is Rangers. And we are delighted, Duncan, that you're watching us. And I don't know if you remember, and I have to hold my hands up here, Ruffy, a lovely lady sent us a photograph. We wished her a happy birthday the other day there. And she's actually just sent us a photograph as if to say, thank you, Alan and Peter, for my 90th birthday wishes. She watches the show. It was a lovely surprise. And she's got roses that she received from Scotland, obviously from one of the family, I would presume. So there you are, watches the show every day, Ruffy. And I can't for the life of me remember her name. Yeah. Usually you...
No, I remember we said happy birthday and have a great day with all your family and everything. But no, she looks as if she has had a great days, and they're wonderful flowers.
Yeah, absolutely. So there you are. Just an indication of young and old that are downloading and watching the programme. I'm delighted when I mention young and old that Gus is still here with us. All those years have passed. Countless times as a young reporter I was out there at Gus's office just hoping that he'd give me some great lines.
Yeah, but I said the other day, we were talking about players, clubs, many managers, clubs.
Four. St Mirren, Queen's Park, Queen of the South and Morton.
Yeah, and as a player, you started off in the Rangers Youth Academy, didn't you, Gus?
Rangers, yeah, and then 91 went to Kilmarnock. Short spell at Dunfermline. And then into St Mirren as a player assistant manager at the time. Yeah,
how many times? I mean, we did look up your Wikipedia as well, just to see how many times you'd played for Kilmarnock. But we got Gus McPherson, the serial killer, so I knew it wasn't you. There's too many of them out there. But how many times is it at Kelly? It's legendary stuff, isn't it?
I think it's about 450. I'm not sure.
Oof,
I'm not sure.
That's good.
But it was 10 years. I was very, very lucky. I hardly got an injury at that time.
Did you get a testimonial?
Yes.
There you look at
Hall of Fame. Got to be in a hall.
I don't think I am.
Oh my God! Get on the phone to Ray Montgomery.
Ray Montgomery, we can deal with that.
The Hall of Fame, surely.
No, we're not.
Wow, that is amazing. I'm gobsmacked.
Famous characters down there throughout the years, but no, that's surpassed us.
That is incredible, by the way. You're only 4 Hall of Fame short of equaling Ruffy. See if you get your finger out. Anyway, I'm delighted that you could join us on the programme. Don't forget to give us your opinion and hit the subscribe button. And let's get into the meat and bones of it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a fantastic draw for Scotland last night. Okay, we're 2-0 up. We should have been able to close the door on the game, but we didn't. But it was great to watch, Ruffy.
Yeah, and as soon as the game finished, I went, Peter's going to ask me to analyse this game, and I try not to be too negative because I thought they were a good side.
It's a friendly.
I know it's a friendly, but now that we're playing every game, it's now a mental thing, it's a record thing, you know, no defeats in 7, no defeats in 8, you know, and you keep that going on to the next game. But if you were to really analyse the game, if it hadn't been for Craig Gordon, I think we might have been in a not heavy defeat, but a defeat. You know, I think the saves he had in the first half were unbelievable, and the save he had right at the very end, that they could have went 3-2. It would have been a tragedy if that had happened, because you're right, when you put in a shift away from home and you're sitting at 2 each, you take the 2 each and you move on, you know. But I'm sure the manager will look at it. I thought we were vulnerable down the flanks. I thought balls getting put into the box were not defended properly. You know, again, I know you're looking at me going, I'm looking at the wrong game.
Gus, he's putting us on a downer already.
No, I'm only telling you what I thought I saw. That they got in the back of us far too often. You know, and if they got beat by Wales and Wales are better than them, you know, we're going to have a hard game.
Yeah. Okay, after that analysis, don't bother booking Qatar. Forget about the semi-final against Ukraine. We're not going. Well, listen.
Ask me the plus points.
Yeah. Well,
John McGinn.
No.
Fantastic.
Hold on a second. Let's get Gus's take on it first of all. We'll obviously get into the meat and bones of individuals' performances. But as a friendly, what did you make of it?
I agree with Alan because they are open, but I think that was probably with it being a friendly in mind that they could play in that fashion. The system is effective for counter-attack, and it was effective, but on another day, if your goalkeeper's not in top form, you're a couple behind. But you still feel that there's a threat there going forward. And there's chances, set pieces, there is a physical presence in the team as well. So they get their goal, slightly against the run of play, but then they get the goal to go 2-0 up. And it sounds crazy, but 2-0 is a kind of...
Yeah, halfway house.
Halfway, because you know if you lose the next goal, automatically the team's got momentum.
Yeah.
And how often do you see a team with a 2-0 lead that can lose 3-2.
Yeah, see when you were sitting there and you saw the second goal, I mean, what were you thinking? As a coach, when you're looking, I mean, the one thing that in a positive sense, and by the way, you know, at times I'm accused of being cynical about Scotland or club football in Scotland. They zipped the ball about really quickly, and there was some nice one-touch, but that goal was something to savour.
Yeah, no, there was quality football there, you know, and I think there was even a passage of play just before it that the movement, the way, everything was top notch. It was impressive. But again, you go back to when you're 2-0 up, you hope you can see it out. But when you lose the first goal, you say, oh no, what if? Yeah. And that's what materialised, you know.
Steve is one of those guys that, I don't know if you can remember this, and I'll get your thoughts on it as well, Gus. Do you remember about 1 year ago, maybe 2 years ago, people were actually criticising him in the paper, saying he's overly cautious. This is a Steve Clarke who's not going to be adventurous. And I always remember, and I don't know if were you at the management gathering down at Largs when they had Marcello Lippi, and someone asked him, you know, what do you think your style of football is? And he says, my style of football is whoever I have available.
When I was doing my pro licence, Marcello Lippi, we did a question and answer at the BBC studios.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's been doing since. Was he back down at Largs? I don't know.
He was down at Largs. I think Jack Ross told me that he'd said to him, you know, somebody asked him the question, you know, what do you think your style is? And he says, it depends on the players. If I've got a big tall guy who's up front, then we're a...
Well, at the BBC studios, somebody asked a similar question, the style of play. And he says, well, my Italian team has 2 match winners. The rest are all soldiers. You know what I mean? So it tells you, it's all soldiers. We call them dogs that just know how to do the job. But he had a couple of match winners in his squad at that time. I don't think too much would change. And that's Walter Smith, God bless him, is similar, you know, in terms of his way. You know, that solid, tight, but a couple of players that could. Bit of magic that would change a game.
So McGinn, it's a friendly. McGinn fires the ball into the back of the net. What does Gus McPherson then do? Does he turn around and go, O'Donnell, Robbo, right? No, push in.
I think if it was a competitive game, you may do that.
Yeah,
but it's a friendly, you know. And I think the one thing when I was watching, especially the first, players seemed to really, really enjoy it. You know, the way they were playing, just the way they were popping the ball about, they seemed to enjoy it. You get that second goal, you're not going to change that, because that's the most important thing, because maybe previously it had been a little bit tight, not under Stevie, but even just a little bit tight, a little bit of fear, nerves in their play. That seems to have all gone now, you know, in terms of the results and the performances.
Well, we talk about the feel-good factor, Ruffy, but there is, as Gus has mentioned there, that air of confidence about them and zipping the ball about, especially middle to front, you know, when they've got the movement. I always think it helps, you know, if you've got someone and you know about it because you played with so many of them, a striker who can hold the ball up. Anybody who can hold the ball up and suddenly allows the midfield to get forward is worth his weight in gold. And Shea Adams last night, for me, I looked at him and I thought, wow, that is a thankless task. Well done, son.
Yeah, I think every manager, I mean, Gus might disagree with me, every manager would like to think that he's got the players available that he can play two strikers. But if you haven't got the players available to play two strikers and you're going to play with one, you need a midfield who are tuned in to what he's doing. And that was last night. As Gus said, they broke quick. If it was a left-hand side, they just looked up and they knew he had peeled off to the right-hand side, and it was a ping across there. But see, when he got it under control, there was midfield busting through. There was McGinn busting through. Everybody was busting a gut to get in that box. And that's through training and practice and doing it week in, week out, when they meet up. And I thought that was a good thing about it. That if we're only going to play with one up, the midfield have got to back him up.
He can do both, though. He can hold it up.
Yeah.
But he also gives you that option of, as Alan said, to hit the diagonal.
Yeah.
Down the sides. His mobility is very, very good. Lyndon Dykes similar, but Evans is probably a little bit more mobile than him.
I think if he squares the defender up, though, you're thinking he can get a shot away.
Exactly. You know, and he can go either side, because he had a shot early in the first half.
That's right.
There was just a slight deflection. That was the corner that led to the goal.
Yeah.
So he's actually just shifted it half a yard and there's a block. He's got a lot of armoury, you know, and he's certainly a threat.
Yeah, Steve Clarke, the Scotland manager, had this to say after the game, and of course everything is all to do with that feel-good factor. If you said before the game we would get 2 goals and a draw, a lot of people have said that would be okay. I don't understand why the feel-good factor would go. It's 8 games unbeaten, and we go into a competitive programme in June. We're in a good place, don't worry about that. We'll take the draw, go away unbeaten, and look forward to competitive games in June on the back of an 8-game unbeaten run, which is not a bad place to be. And I think, you know, whether some managers are guilty of spin or not, this is a reality for us. 8 games unbeaten, and when you think of before we qualified for the Euros, what we were going through, the pain of always just missing out. We had some good squads as well, but this one, I think there seems to be a better pull, especially from the bench as well.
I agree with 100%. There's no, I don't feel a spin element to when Stevie Clarke talks.
Yeah.
He's just pragmatic. It's just how it is, and his stats in the last 3 or 4 years, even his time at Kilmarnock, were staggering. You know, so it's just there. It's there. It's how he plays. There's slight changes there with the Scotland squad because of the players that he's got at his disposal. You know, and he's certainly getting the best out of them. And I think I agree with it when he says we're in a good place. You know, going into these competitive games, and I certainly it's not ideal, you know, at the end of a season to go into these crucial games. But I think a key part will be the spirit that's within this group. Yeah. And I think that's been there for everybody to see as well. Yeah,
I'm looking at some of the messages coming through, Ruffy, and quite a lot of people are obviously, you know, offering some of the points that you were making, which is basically Scotland were opened up far too easily. Alistair Andrew says, you're 100% right, Ruffy, but if you put the first 11 in for a competitive match, I think it would be a positive result. I'm still not sure, Alistair says, about Hickey. But there's a lot of people who I think have mentioned. Kevin says Scotland scored 2 great goals. We had good moments and bad moments. We just need to cut the bad out. Yeah, absolutely. That sounds like Ruffy's team talk for the Glenafton Junior Cup final. Come on,
you've got to be respectful to Austria. They're at home. It's the manager's last game, so I'm sure that would have given the players a little bit of edge that they didn't want to lose it when they were 2-0 down. in that manner, and they've reacted to that as well. They're good opposition. We've got to be respectful, but I think we've said that over the last couple of seasons that you go, we need to earn that respect ourselves, and I think we've got that now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think whereas before you were wondering sometimes where a goal was coming from, Ruffy, we've got that from set pieces. Certainly the midfielders can score goals, and when you've got Dykes, you've got Shea Adams there, and you're hoping that maybe the other supporting cast of 2 additional strikers, whoever he decides on, can also provide that.
Yeah, I think we've come on leaps and bounds, particularly in the last year. I think that, as we've spoke about it, the squad's better. There's better quality in the squad. They're all working for each other. And I would look at it now in a competitive game when we play Ukraine, and if we beat Ukraine, and if we play Wales, I would say they'll have to score twice against us to beat us.
Yeah.
I think we're geared now to
Wales?
No, I think Scotland are geared to score a goal and competitively say to the other team, right, to beat us, you need to score twice here.
Yeah. Well, listen,
and that's at this level, it's a big ask. But if you've got Gareth Bale doing free kicks,
just about. That's exactly. That was running through my head. 25 yards out. Okay, here come the 2 goals, Ruffy. Here's Steve Clarke's stats, and I think you've got to look at it and say to yourself, we're moving in the right direction. There's a real feel about what he's doing at the moment. There's a win percentage of 51%. Played 33 games. He's won 17, drawn 7 games and 9 defeats. But of course, we've been to a major tournament, which is a manager's remit. That's what you've got to do. Gordon Strachan at 47%, Craig Brown 45%, 44 for Walter, Alex McLeish 41, Craig Lewin 41, and the dark days of Bertie Votes 28%. When at that point I actually thought, Ruffy, I was in line for a cap.
You're ahead of me.
I was
anybody.
Honestly, I'm playing sometimes. I'm thinking I'm going to get picked.
When a squad was getting announced, there was people just walking about Glasgow Airport with a pair of boots.
It was mental. He was fiery. This is a good one. Nicky Twig says, Peter, John McGinn has the biggest backside in football I've ever seen. How a man of his size can fend off defenders and still pass is unbelievable in my eyes. John McGinn has, he does do that, Ruffy, but he's no bigger backside than Dalglish's.
No, I'm sure you'll agree that way back in the time when Gordon was in charge, we spoke to him after the England game and we were talking about John McGinn, and Gordon was saying, yeah, he's got a wee bit to learn at international level. He wants to do too much, and then he does too much and loses possession. And it was a losing possession that was putting everybody else into trouble. But he's not doing that now.
Yeah.
No, I think he's got older, he's got wiser. He's doing his wee bit and then saying, right, I've done my bit. Here you are, take it on. But his runs into the box, he's a way ahead of a lot of defenders. He knows when to peel back, he knows where to go, and he's anticipating where the ball's going to be.
Here's Gus's favourite. He's also retaining the ball a lot more now. At Hibs, he would try a pass and then suddenly everybody's on the back foot going that way.
That's what Gordon said. He's developing. Mm-hmm. But you only develop if you remain in the team and you learn from your mistakes.
Yeah.
And John clearly has. He's a top player. And going on about his backside, that's actually works in his favour so often. I went down last month to Newcastle versus Villa, and it's just incredible at that level. He's going to do it. The defender just can't stop it.
Yeah.
Because it's just there. He just protects the ball. This is a skill that the Europeans, that the rest of the world have got, that we don't pick up as well. We're all focused so much on the ball, but John McGinn protects it very well with his body, his backside, and just half turn. He's got a great change of pace.
Yes.
He's suddenly power from his backside, his thighs, and he just drives into the space, and he can make a pass as well. So it looks in recent times he's simplified his game. He's got half turned, faces up the defence, gets it wide, and then just continues his run into the box.
Yeah.
And that's why he will score more goals.
I know it's just outrageous to mention it, but it's got to be surely the most Scotland players I've ever witnessed who are left-sided. there's a lot of left-sided players in the team, isn't there? You know, a lot of good left pegs on them that are playing there. But of course, the other thing about it is they're zipping the ball in, and as you say, when he gets on the half turn, suddenly, you know, what we've craved is to get that 2-on-1 situation, Gus. As soon as he breaks forward and busts a gut, suddenly if a team's moving backwards.
There was two in the first half. One, the Austrian midfielder read it, knew he was going to do it, and didn't get too tight to him. But then the next one, again, he knows he's going to do it, but he can't prevent it because he's got too tight to him. And it's as if they just bounce off him. And again, he's right at the heart of the defence.
Did you ever have a player who had similar qualities, could shield it, could, you know, I mentioned Dalglish, but there are other players that I thought were...
The one similar was Charlie. We had Charlie Adam on loan at St Mirren. And Charlie was the same. If he could protect, when he protected the ball, if he was sort of faced up and at it, Charlie would shoot for 60 yards. He wouldn't just shoot for 25 yards.
Of course, you had him as a young boy.
We had him on loan. I signed him on deadline day, whatever year that was, and he was the catalyst to us winning the championship that season. He was outstanding. Yeah, he could. I mean, his passing is just outrageous. Incredible. And you signed him when he had a full head of hair. Oh, that was a few years ago.
And a driving licence.
Yeah. Honestly, you are a moron. You really are, isn't it?
The phone calls will come and Charlie, I'm getting nothing to do it.
You're not his driver.
I know you're. Honestly, you are the pits of the earth. It's a good job he's not here. He'd just walk up and whack you on the face.
Some of us get away with that, don't they?
That's the norm. And it's great. Lots of people have mentioned the things that they like about the performance from Scotland. Of course, lots of people, you know, praising Steve Clarke. Others are not Steve Clarke fans for obvious reasons, but we won't go into them. What's next? That's the key to this. We've got the two friendlies out of the way. We've almost got the win against Poland. It's now a hectic schedule, Ruffy, in June. Not only have we got Nations League fixtures, but you could have Ukraine. If you can get past them, suddenly you've got Wales.
No, but the thing about it is, as Gus said there, if you were part of that last night, you've got you know what's coming up. If you don't perform at club level or with these games coming up, you need to be in that 22. You need to force if you're not in it, if you think you're maybe 26, 27, 28, you need to make sure you're in the 22. And I think that the hunger for that will get, the team will get the benefit of that collectively, because everybody will be wanting to be going to these big games.
Yeah, we mentioned it earlier, Gus, but the difference between the Bertie votes era and now, it's not just about Bertie. I think there's more technically gifted players playing at a high level that we can call on now.
Bertie didn't know our game as such, and he had to see these players for himself, and that's why it probably seemed to a lot, it was like a scattergun approach, get as many in as we can possibly get in, get to see them with my own eyes, because it's Gordon even touched on with John McGinn, it's a completely different level. To develop international football, you need to see them. But Stevie knows the players, been at Kilmarnock for a couple of years, he's known the pool, he's probably realised the problems, the positional side of it, and that's why he's changed went to 3 to accommodate Tierney and Robertson. And that's taken a little bit of time, you know, to get into place as well, because it didn't immediately go that way. But it's certainly got the desired effect now.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's the results from last night friendlies, qualifiers, crucial games. Poland have broken the hearts of every Swedish player because Lewandowski and the supporting cast defeated Sweden by 2-0. No surprise on Portugal against North Macedonia. North Macedonia just couldn't actually reach the heights that they managed to reach against Italy, and Portugal in the end, thanks to Hernandez, were able to get the goals to get through there. Elsewhere it was Austria 2-2 we talked about. England 3-0 against Ivory Coast. Northern Ireland and Hungary, it was just a solitary goal for Hungary in that match. Republic of Ireland 1, Lithuania 0, and Wales 1, Czech Republic 1. And there's lots of things we can chat about with players who played in some of those matches and whether they're available for weekend football. And of course, one of the big games that's coming up. Scotland under-17s, I must just say well done to them. Ben Doak, who is, Ruffy, we were talking about it earlier, some clubs are reluctant now to invest heavily in the academy because it seems that English clubs are able just to come up and cherry pick the teenagers now who they want. This boy is ripping it up for Celtic. He's been involved periodically in the first team squad, but Liverpool are sniffing about him. There's a real chat going on at the moment that he could be heading to Anfield.
Yeah, well, that's the unfortunate thing that the Scottish clubs have got to put up with, because these English teams paying out that kind of money, compensation is peanuts. It's nothing, whereas up here...
Is it not something to do with the homegrown rule in England, that they get them young?
Yeah.
If they can get them before 18, they then become the homegrown, and they've got to have so many within their squads.
And I think that is reflected in the compensation that the club gets, which is a nightmare if you want to see players develop. And you only have to look at some of the players that we've lost. In fact, I mean, when would you ever hear of Scottish players heading over and playing for Bundesliga clubs?
No, that's right. That's right. And I think the agents, have a part in this as well. And it's not to, it suits the player, because it's a player's decision if they want to do. It suits the agent, but it's not necessarily suiting the club, because they believe that the most talented, are going elsewhere far too quickly.
Yeah, well, the under-17s defeated Georgia 6-1. Doak got a hat-trick, and I think, once they work out the permutations, I think they'll be heading to the European Championships in Israel. So fingers crossed it all goes according to plan, but well done to them anyway. Do you sense, Gus, you're out and about, obviously from Ruffy's point of view, he sees a fair bit of the lower league football too. Do you sense that we've got a real structure in place now where there's good talent coming through and we're in a better place?
Yes, there's talented players there, but the biggest frustration as a manager, and probably I almost say even as a director, the boys, the players themselves, is patience. They all expect to be in the first team at kind of 17, 18, and it's not like that for everybody. A lot depends on your timing, the club, a little bit of luck, positional sense as well.
Yeah.
Just an opening at the right time, but there's certainly talented players there, but sometimes they have a bit to manage them and to manage the expectations of the younger player, and they become frustrated very, very quickly.
Yep. Okay, thanks to so many of you for your messages on our YouTube channel. It's live Monday to Friday. We are live at 4 o'clock. You can download the PLZ Soccer app, and it's got all the breaking football stories. And if you download it, you can watch the programme live on your phone. And if you miss it, then if you've got the app, you can watch it at your leisure at any time with all the stories that are breaking across the football world in the UK, Europe, and of course globally as well. So thank you very much to the thousands and thousands of people who now realise we're exclusively on YouTube and they are subscribing. We really do appreciate your support, and hopefully we're getting bigger and better going forward. And lots of good one-to-ones and unique content, and hopefully over the next couple of weeks, if we can get Gus, because of the sunshine, I know that it'll be difficult to get him off a golf course, but we might get him to pick his dream team as well at some point, Ruffy, which would be interesting when you consider the players that you've played with, Gus, over the years. Of course, the biggest problem for you is the guys that phone you to say, I can't believe you never picked me.
Oh no, there's... You go back a few years, what was that? 86 was when I first went into Rangers, and that was when the soonest revolution kind of started. So there were some top players, coming in there to start off. So it was.
When you think of, if I was pushing you right now, and I'd say who would be the two stonewallers you'd pick right away in your dream team, just so that we know what's coming.
Ian Durrant, right away. So there's one right away that, and Ray Wilkins.
Yeah.
So that was, he was just a gentleman.
Yeah.
But what a player he was. And that was him just coming towards, his end of his career. After Rangers, he went to Hibs. But
he's a great lad as well. My last night out with Ray, sadly he's no longer with us, Ruffy, but I had a major session with him in a London pub. I mean, you just don't expect anybody to say that, but I'm sorry. We went to a quiz night in a London pub, and it was absolutely fantastic. He was such a great lad.
As Gus said, he was just a gentleman, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah.
You wouldn't even thought he was a football player.
Yeah.
Because he was so nice and very polite and everything to everybody.
The highlight for me from his time at Rangers was nothing to do with the football.
Yeah.
He took his golfing. My 21st birthday, he took his golfing.
What were you playing off at that time?
I don't know, 4 or 5. I don't know what it was.
4 or 5.
Just a glove. I don't know what it was.
Just a glove, 4 or 5.
But it was the way to Dalmahoy. He just took us through, and that just wouldn't happen, you know. And nowadays,
was he a good golfer?
He was a good player. Very, very competitive.
Yeah,
very competitive.
And of course, Durante that you mentioned there, what a player! Yeah. And even better, I hope he won't mind me saying, just a great lad, great fun as well.
Just a character, you know. And I think I was fortunate. I played with him, you know, but in the reserves before his injury, and then when he came down to Kilmarnock after the injury, he changed his game completely, you know, to becoming this dictator in the middle of the park and passing the ball, whereas previously he was this runner from midfield that would just time his runs. You couldn't coach. Yeah. Everybody's looking for that now. It was highlighted, I think it was recently in the Tottenham game, where the boys that were doing the analysis, that suddenly when Harry Kane had dropped deeper and got that half turned, the 2 or 3 players, I think it was, were all running forward, and the arrows highlighted it. But now we don't get that a lot. It's all players that are coming towards the ball with their back to the opposition goal. Everybody's looking for that, either that midfield player or that striker.
I suppose the
will
best
just go
ever
forward.
Player, not the best ever, I'm sure there are down through the years if I really started to rack my brain, but certainly of the last 20 years, Lampard epitomised that, because he could time his runs.
Yeah, well,
you know,
Ian Durant was similar in that way. You know, I think Souness, you know, complimented him, and it might even been Ray Wilkins actually. Yeah. He said that he could have easily have played in a top league in Europe.
And Hugh Scott, and this is a tough one for you, and I don't want you to give us the whole team away, but I think this is a good one as a question for you. First of all, Ronnie Chapman says, can you say hi to Gus? So we've done that. But over and above that, Hugh Scott says, Gus, I have to ask you, who would make it up front? Is it McCoist or Paul Wright? Now,
Paul Wright was outstanding for Kilmarnock.
Yeah.
But McCoist would get the nod in there because of the level that he played at.
Yeah.
You know, international. And
would you phone Budgie and just say to him?
No, I tend not to.
No.
You know, I wouldn't want to break that news to him. You know, it's hard enough, you know, when you at the time, you know, even when you're a manager and you're telling good strikers that they're not in because of a system or whatever. You know, you've got to deal with. They are the most crabbit ones.
Yeah.
You know, and Paul was up there with the most crabbit.
He's a good player as well, great player.
Top player.
Lots of messages coming in, and this one here from Lynn Sutherland, who says, can you give a shout out to Bucky Thistle, who hope to extend their league run to 22 games on the trot. They're facing Forest Mechanics at Mossop Park. So
well, it's quite competitive up there. Obviously, what's at stake is the playoffs now, you know, and you've got Fraserburgh up there. You know, and obviously Brecon thought they were going to win that league up there, but it's really tight, really tight. And before it was, I think when the Highland League, I think we used to say when the Highland League team, whoever won it, they would go, they don't really want to come into it. They all want in it now because they see the progression of the Kelties and the Coves and everything, so they all want a bit.
Yeah,
you know?
The football
I saw Bucky.
landscape.
I saw Bucky. I think it was Bucky against Cumbernauld Colts in the Scottish Cup.
Good.
And I was very impressed with the way they played.
Yeah.
Great passing and energy. You know, the coach was very demanding.
Well, it's like you said earlier, Peterhead played good. They played well against Dundee.
Yeah. No, I was very impressed by them.
Yeah. I've got to ask you guys. I mean, I think it's not just down. This next topic is not just down to football, although I think the individuals concerned use football as a platform to peddle or bile their abusive behaviour. But England fans booing Harry Maguire in a 3-0 win against the Ivory Coast. Ruffy, I mean, honestly, it's where are we going with it now? I mean,
I mean, to be fair, we gave him a bit of stick from a footballing point of view, but I don't see why
you're supporting your national side.
I'm just going to say that. If you're supporting your national side, you get behind everybody that's wearing an English jersey.
Yeah.
And if he's having a bad game, you still get behind him because you've got to support them. And you're right, I just don't get sometimes where certain fans pick a player and he's the one that gets it,
I suppose the argument here is if Beckham can get it, anybody can get it. It's as simple as that. Gareth Southgate slammed the England supporters for booing Harry Maguire. He said it was an absolute joke, especially after a win against the Ivory Coast. But the England manager has highlighted the fact that this could put some players off coming to play for the country.
But we're either all in this together or we're not. And don't think for 1 minute the other players won't be looking at that thinking that could be me one day. And that's been one of the problems with playing for England. Players have thought, do I want to go? Because when it turns a little bit difficult, then the crowd are going to turn on me. And that happened with John Barnes here, and that happened with Ashley Cole a couple of times. It happened with Raheem. Now Harry. They're all outstanding players.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're a manager, Gus, you're absolutely bemused at that. Now, let's not get away from the fact he's having a tough time, but he was the player of the tournament.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I think you can even see it in his body language, his facial expression. He is having a tough time.
Yeah,
and I think
in a poor side.
Exactly, but he's the one. Even in the recent Manchester derby, he's making poor decisions when you're going through a tough time. You'd say to any player, just keep it simple.
Yeah.
But that he takes chances. He is a ball-playing centre back who can play out for the back. He takes chances, but he looks as if he's a little bit wary of taking chances at the moment.
Yeah. I think his confidence is shot.
It looks that way, but I think for the small band of supporters, to target him, it just becomes the easy option. But then for Southgate to defend him, and that's trying to create that team mentality and keep that strong as well. But I saw something earlier today that because he's commented on it, he's attracted more attention to it. Well, you can't win then. You're actually defending your player for what he has achieved while he's worn an England jersey in recent years. You just to let that go. You can't as a manager. You've got to back your player, for what he's done for you in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. And fair play to Jordan Henderson coming out and backing him as well as some other teammates too. Listen, I think it's a society problem, Ruffy, and the way people think it's open season on anybody. You only have to look at the abuse that the black players who played for England who missed a penalty, and you get all sorts of abuse on social media. I mean, Beckham, they were burning effigies of David Beckham when he lashed out against Diego Simeone.
But we keep saying it's a minority, and as long as it stays a minority and the majority are really taken aback by these people who do that, I think we've still got to try and curtail it, and I think that's what the manager's done. Yeah,
there are some good moments across football and last night, and one of them was Denmark 3, Serbia 0. And Christian Eriksen scoring at the Parken Stadium in Copenhagen. It's first time back there since, of course, those unbelievable events when he suffered a heart attack. But you could. This is. I've said again, it's a movie, Gus, isn't it?
It is incredible. It will be a Hollywood movie. There's no doubt about that. Somebody will buy the rights or take that on because it's just amazing for what the comeback. In what seems like such a short period of time, and to get a couple of goals in the recent games, it's outstanding.
I don't think you could understand what he must be going through every time he walks on that park, every time he goes for a lung-busting run, every time.
What his family must be going through watching a game.
Yeah, everybody.
Every
incident. That's fair dues to him.
There was a funny incident. It was at the recent game, Brentford versus Norwich, where the boy challenged, or Eriksen challenged him, and they sort of landed in each other, and the boy sort of started to square up and then realised it was him and just gave him a cuddle. So it was that, oh no, what have I done, sort of thing, but his family watching the games must be,
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant that he got that evasion. The one thing I was going to say, just briefly, Ruffy, a couple of things. Senegal 1, Egypt 0. Mo Salah won't be going to the World Cup. Of course, the other thing about it is most of the Egyptian players were subjected to laser pens on the... I mean, honestly, they're coming up with something. It'll get to the stage now where you go into the game and you have to watch out for a bazooka rocket coming from the stands. Yeah. It's just getting mental, isn't it?
Well, let's hope it's no this Sunday.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Ruffy. Of course, with that in mind, tenuous link, but nevertheless, Morelos is not going to the World Cup, so he can concentrate in club football because Colombia, despite winning against Venezuela, are out. So it looks as if there's a few players that will be playing on Sunday that won't be looking forward to the World Cup in Qatar. And it brings us nicely to this big game on Sunday. We've been talking about it, Gus, as the first time we've got a game that the two teams, not only with form, but the players they have available, it's so tough to call.
It is. I think the one thing, the style of play that Celtic are playing is the most impressive that I've seen for a long, long time. And the flip side, I don't think Rangers can play as badly as they did the last time out at Parkhead.
Yeah. Did he get the tactics wrong?
It's easy to say that, but I think they were just blown away.
Yeah.
I think you've got to compliment Celtic and how well that they played. But as I said, Rangers I don't think can play as badly.
Yeah.
But Celtic can play as well as that again. Because they are a good team. They're open, they're expansive, there's energy, and the most important, there's quality within that group as well. But I think Rangers would have been wounded from that performance. You know, the manner of the performance, the manner of the defeat, and there'll be a lot of questions asked of them, and it's whether they stand up to that challenge. And look, they go against the European games, you know, and punch above their weight, you know, and beating the clubs like Dortmund, you know, Red Star, but they've got to probably do that again now and step up to them. Probably the most key game this season for them in the supporters' eyes, anyway.
Is that, as a manager, what you think? You know, everybody knows the enormity of it. Is that what a manager like Giovanni Van Bronckhorst should say to the players? Listen, look what you achieved against Borussia Dortmund. Replicate that against a side that, if we don't do something here, it's a long way back for the title.
It's an easy team talk because these types of games take care of themselves. You know, I think it was Gordon Strachan going back to Gordon. You always, you know, listened and learned that, you know, competitive players need competitive games. You know, when you were talking about sort of lesser games, they raise their game to these challenges that come along. And I think you saw that with the European games. You know, they've raised their game and they've certainly, you know, been very, very impressive. But that's what they'll have to do again. So it'll take care of itself, and it's up to the players to do the talking. Who
is the player that you look at in that Rangers side that you think is the match winner for them then? Is somebody that if he ticks, you know, this could be a role reversal. It's Rangers at home. It's 99% of the crowd is the Rangers fans. Who needs to step up and be that player that you're talking about?
Probably your likes of Kent, Aribo, Tavernier, even from a full-back area. Morelos, if he's fit. The key players, you know, have got to step up to the plate. You know, that's what happens in big games. You know, you're what you talk about is match winners. You know, ones that can do something a little bit different. They've got to step up to the plate.
Yeah, and with that in mind, Ruffy, you know, the last thing anybody wants now is the manager, when everybody's coming back from international duty, is somebody saying, oh, I've got a knock. But I think most of them would be saying, if I've got a knock, I'm playing through it. This is the big one.
Yeah, you want to play in the game. You know, but all week we've been talking about injuries and is he going to be fit? Is he going to be fit? I think Van Bronckhorst has got a wee problem with the three Ghanaian boys coming back who are now not going to the World Cup. Now they've just been knocked out.
Yeah, Nigerian,
sorry. So psychologically, maybe pull them aside and say, look, guys, it's not happened. Got a big game coming at the weekend, but I'm sure they're big enough and bold enough to get that out of their system. But for me, it's all about the injuries.
Yeah, and with that in mind, Rob Page, the Welsh boss, has mentioned that it's good news for Rangers regarding Aaron Ramsey.
And it was a no-brainer, really. Listen, the job was done. The most important game was against Austria on Thursday. Job done. We're in the final. This was a productive exercise to see some of the younger players, and they didn't need to risk Aaron. You know, let him go back to his club and with full fitness and playing a wonderful game at Old Firm Derby on Sunday. Knowing then that it's less risk again then of him getting injured or picking anything else up, so we can protect him a little bit for June.
Yeah, I mean, that is just a bit of welcome news that Rangers fans will be looking, going back to playing the derby fully fit.
Yeah, again, he comes into the bracket of the big players. He's not probably set the head on fire, you know, and he's not really hit the ground running. He's not gained any momentum, but again, for Wales, he looks as if there's a freedom there, you know, and it's similar with Bale. He's a key player for them. That he's given that little bit of freedom to go and express himself, you know, and just make runs, you know, to support strikers. But you know, he's got to come up with the goods. Would he start in the game? It's a dilemma for Bonkhorst, and whether he starts with them, and is he the type of player that will have an impact, you know, if he comes on and plays for the last 30 minutes if it's tight. Yeah. Again, that's the decisions he's going to have to make. Or is he tighter in the middle of the park, you know, with the competitive players? He's got a decision to make.
Yeah. You've highlighted the Rangers players. You've also mentioned the quality that you've witnessed at Celtic. Who's impressed you?
Individually, you know, McGregor, I think, had a very, very good season. I think Jota, you know, early part was expansive, very direct. It's the two Japanese guys, you know, different, but you can obviously see that he knew what he was bringing in. I watched a recent interview with the manager, and he just said he didn't feel there was a risk, you know, with the recruitment that he did, because he knew these players and he knew how they were going to fit in to his style of play, you know, and that probably counts for all three of the Japanese boys, that they just fitted in right away. So they've known what they were coming into. You know, probably from the outside we're going, Japanese players, a few years back when Nakamura, he came in and go, if they're half as good as that, we've got players. But they knew what they were coming into, and it's the way they play. It's not so much. I think even the manager would say that he's rotated the team quite a bit, and they all just fit in. It's the style of play which has been refreshing, you know, and it's been, you know, interesting from a coaching point of view, that you would go, it's, you know, the fullbacks get into the middle of the park and trying to leave the wider players in the 1v1 situations in the wider area, and it's an entertaining way. It's very open. You can see in the European games as well, there's a risk element to it as well, with the physicality and the athleticism, you know, of the European teams. They can be exposed, but you know, in the domestic stuff, they've been very, very impressive.
Davy Wilson used to say only a fool would predict the outcome of a Rangers match against Celtic. Where's your money?
As I say, I don't think Rangers can play as badly, but Celtic can play as well again. And I think if Celtic play as well as they did, they'll be difficult to stop. You know, that doesn't matter that it's Rangers, that it's against anybody in this division. They are a very, very exciting, athletic team. That if you see the way they start games, you know, in the first 30 minutes, they're blowing teams away. They can't handle it. The Rangers have got to learn from that, because they are the physical team. They know how to deal with that side of it, but there can be no surprise element, you know. But if Celtic play the way they did and I think they can win it.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, Ruffy, the last thing we want in this one, I don't want to talk about, and add fuel to the fire on the powder keg nature of this, but Rangers have warned their fans about invading the pitch. It seems to have crept in a little right across our whole game this season. Fans, albeit some of them have been youngsters and a little bit boisterous. I don't want to use Rod Petrie's line of over-exuberance, but the last thing you need is anybody coming onto the pitch for this game.
No, and I think now we saw the troubled areas, whether it's Ross County or whether it's Motherwell or whatever. And I would like to think in this game, of all games, security will be tight as anything. I don't think the police can afford this. Is it Willie Young that says the ring of steel? I'm sure they'll be aware, that what can happen, and if any security is violated, then the police will answer for it. So I think they'll be overcautious.
Yeah. Gus, at the bottom end of it, we've watched them, we've been and watched Dundee. I think it's a hard slog for them now. St Johnstone have got a 4-point gap between them. How do you see it going at the bottom end?
It's between the two of them. I think it's a straight head-to-head. Again, I'm not sure who they both play before the split, the two games, but after the split, anything can happen. I think there's been years gone by where there's been the gaps, but after the split, it's like 50-50 games. You can go either way, and if you win the first, maybe draw the second, you've got a little bit of momentum and get into it. So it's between the two of them, but I would certainly favour St Johnstone, really just because of the squad of players that they've got.
I think it's crucial that they get one of your old boys that you mentioned there, Charlie, back. If it's any consolation, there's no speed whatsoever now. It's just the 40-yard diagonal is still there.
No, and he's capable of it, and again, protecting the ball, giving the group a lift as well. Just his presence on the pitch should give them a lift as well. But Charlie has to play then from that side of it. He has to again, we talked about other games and players, the big players, the key players have got to step up to the players like Charlie, McGowan, McMullen. These boys have got to step up to the plate now if they are to get out of this situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point, Ruffy. I know we joke with him when he's in the studio with us, but he really is crucial to them, because I've watched them and I think they're disjointed. At times they miss that player that, sometimes people don't place enough value on a player who can play a 10-yard pass, albeit he can play his 40-yarders, but 10 yards, keeping the ball, making himself available, and they've missed that.
You have, I feel as if I keep repeating myself here. When you're down there and things aren't going particularly well, and you're in the dressing room before a game, as an individual, you're looking around the dressing room going, who's the guy who's going to pull us out of this hole? Is it going to be him? Is it going to be him? And if you've got 2 or 3 in that dressing room who on their day can do that, then it's a bonus. And Charlie's up there. Charlie scored the wonder goal. He's done the wonder pass. He's done, lifting teams out. And so it's very crucial that he is one of the players in that dressing room.
Just before you go, Gus, it's a tough question. Obviously, it's difficult to get your opinion on the Championship, because there's a couple of teams that just have blown up. They had a chance to win the title, but blew it. And they're on such a bad run that it's very difficult to mention it in this studio because people are sensitive now. So there's no point in talking about Thistle because they're out of it. Let's concentrate on your old team, Kelly. Is the title in the bag?
I think it is. It's in the bag. It's not done yet. But what they have is get the experience and know-how within their team. Kyle Lafferty obviously scoring goals, and if you've got that at the top end of the pitch, go back to sitting in the dressing room before a game, you're looking at Kyle and going, well, at least we've got somebody scoring the goals today. You've got Stephen McGinn as your holding player in the middle of the park. Experienced guys that have been there, seen it, done it. Just the know-how by Rory McKenzie, Burke, just guys that know their way. Lee Hodge, I could go through the Kilmarnock team that just know how to get the job done. And I think
he's a level above, isn't he, Lafferty? I mean, the goals he scored at the weekend were outrageous.
Without a doubt. But again, that was a gamble, I think, probably from Kilmarnock's point of view. I don't know the financial. I think Derek was out recently trying to, say about the financial side of it, and defend it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. They've done that. It was a gamble, and it certainly looks at this moment as if it's paying off.
Yeah, well, there's another good game and a chance for our bro to come down to Glasgow and just give them a doing, because they're on a four game run, Gus. Honestly, 4 games ago, he was in this studio with Richard Foster saying we can win the title.
It's amazing how quickly it can turn around, though. I think Ian's touched on the condition of the pitch. You could say that, but there'll be defining moments in games because they've been so tight, narrow margins, and I think it's, again, the main thing for Ian and for Partick Thistle is to make sure they get in the playoffs, because I think even when it comes down to that side of it, there'll be a match for MD. They were the best team that we played against this season, albeit it was early on, it was the third or fourth game of the season. They were the most impressive team that we played.
Interesting stuff, but it's been a long way since then.
Yeah,
Gus,
clearly.
they've
You know as soon as the final whistle goes at our games, he texts me. He doesn't even wait. You can see the beep coming. Beep. Pumped again.
You've got to. That's the nature of it. The dressing room, Gus. I know you loved it yourself. Anyway, apart from anything else, just before we go, a couple of things I want to ask you. But this one, a story that came in: the Women's Champions League quarter-final clash, Ruffy, between Barcelona and Real Madrid at the Nou Camp tonight is on track to set an attendance record for a women's match. Wait for it. All 99,354 tickets have sold out, and it's going to eclipse the record, which was 60,739. It's magnificent. I mean, if you look and you think about, the women's game, 1999 World Cup, United States and China had just over 90,000. That is incredible. I still think we're a long way off on a regular basis, but that will set the tone for people to go, maybe we're going to go and watch it.
Yeah, and I think in the lower levels it's sponsorship that they need, but these kind of games make sponsors sit up and go, oh, maybe I want a wee bit of that. I know it's all different levels and everything like that, but any kind of game that's global like that, and you get people watching it who don't usually watch it, can only be good for the game. We actually got offered that game to be at Fairhill, but it was
the pitch wasn't in good playing condition. Gus,
do Thistle have a ladies' team?
Yes, we certainly do. Yeah, they get promoted. They get not promoted. They get invited in this year, and they're doing well. They're
fantastic.
Hopefully they'll be there next year.
Yeah, Gus, it's been an absolute joy. I do hope you come back in to have a natter with us, because it's always good getting your insight into things. Just before you go, you've given us your insight into Killie in that division as well. What was your favourite game? Is there a game that sticks in your memory that you just absolutely loved? If you could go back and Ruffy and I could drive you in the DeLorean at 88 miles an hour.
I think the obvious one is the Scottish Cup final, when we won that. But there was another game that probably doesn't get talked about as much. It wasn't expansive, it wasn't exciting, it was very, very tense. We actually stayed up. There were 3 teams getting relegated, and we had to go to Easter Road in the final game of the season and not get beat, and it finished 0-0. And the relief that day was just incredible, because it was a tough ask, because that season when we got promoted, I can't remember the year what it was when Kilmarnock got promotion from the Championship the last time. We went up in second place behind Wraith Rovers, and Wraith Rovers won the league by about 12 points. So actually, to stay up with 3 teams getting relegated was one hell of an achievement. But it was that game that always sticks in my mind, that we just get the job done.
Yeah.
There'll be other games that people go, why that one? Remember that? But just that was one that always sticks in my head. That for so long after that, Kilmarnock remained in the Premier League. Yeah,
and we've given you the tour of the PLZ studios. You've seen all the pictures, the memorabilia, everything, Gus. Tell me you've got that Scottish Cup final shirt in a frame, and the medal's in a box, and medal somewhere. I don't know where it is. Yeah. I saw Paul Cherry. Did you see that? It's a fantastic gesture. Selling. It's a great gesture. Auctioning his 2 medals from. I think he's raffling them. Is he raffling them? Yeah. Wow. Fantastic gesture. I think it was maybe the 3rd division for Inverness, and then another one which is a medal. Yeah, there's 2 medals. League One or the Championship. League One. Now as it would have been League One, and then it's League Two When he was at Inverness, he's putting them up for a raffle, and all the proceeds go to Ukraine. I think it's a great gesture.
It's fantastic. I think we'll hear more and more of that the longer this sorry episode goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. Just don't do it with the Kubias one. I'm still hanging on with every word, Ruffy. Just calm your jets. Get rid of some of the other ones, Ruffy, and don't do it in a raffle. Simple as that. Great to have Gus McPherson with us, and of course Ruffy will be back with us tomorrow. Tam Cowan, COVID-free, is with us, although we will be testing him before he gets anywhere near the door. I have to tell you, by the way, I opened the door today and Gus went like that. Negative. So thorough as ever. If you get a chance, do hit the subscribe button and hit the bell as well. We absolutely value your support. Thank you very much to each and every one of you. We've contacted Aileen Crawford. She's delighted that she's won an iPad, and you could be a winner too. There's more prizes on the way. From Gus, Ruffy and myself, Peter Martin, thanks for watching.